Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zelbo, and this past week we had a lot of news about the upcoming iPhone 15, Apple's AR/VR headset. We're expecting iOS 16.4 Beta 2, and much more. This is your news update for the week of February 27th, 2023. Now, the Apple Watch is getting closer to being placed under an import ban in the United States due to a recent patent ruling. The Biden administration has also apparently said they will not veto or stop the ruling from moving forward. The patent in question is from a medical company called AliveCor, who says that they developed the ECG technology on the back of the sensor for the Apple Watch, and Apple actually is using that without their permission. Apple, of course, will appeal this decision, and this may never end up as a true import ban, but it is something that is moving forward, it seems, if they don't get the appeal. So they may owe that company a bunch of money, and they may have to go back to court to figure this out. But hopefully we don't see a final ban, as it's something that a lot of people use. Now, in a recent report by the Financial Times, it seems Apple is gaining in popularity due to iMessage and maybe just the phone overall. Now, having a green bubble in many places in the USA is looked down upon among people of Gen Z and newer. It's kind of a silly thing, but in many high schools, if you have a green bubble when you're in iMessage, which means you're from an Android phone, it's looked down upon and seen as something that's sort of a lack of status, which is definitely goofy and something I definitely don't understand. However, I've heard from this directly from my family members. Some of my kids in high school have mentioned this to me before. In the USA, though, it's not really seen as a status symbol anymore because the phone is in over 50% of Americans' hands. Many countries still see it as a status symbol, so that's the growing popularity around the world. But I just want to know what you think of this, as this just seems like a silly thing. I've mentioned it in the past quite some time ago, but it seems to be becoming more and more prevalent. Now, the video I released this past weekend was actually filmed outside in HDR. I asked many of you if you prefer this. Some do, some don't, but I wanted to give you a quick tip, as those that don't like HDR can actually disable it. So you'll see the higher quality picture options here, and they all say up to 4K or 2160p in HDR. You can actually disable this just by turning on low power mode. So if you want to see the regular version of the video, Apple actually, or YouTube actually converts this and then turns it into a regular SDR video. So if low power mode is on, it goes to regular SDR, and it looks pretty good either way. It doesn't look as saturated, but it will change that if you want to see it, and then allow you to watch it in non-HDR if it's just too bright or you don't like the look. Let me know if you prefer HDR or just regular SDR in the comments below. Now, those that use Netflix have recently heard more and more information that Netflix is cracking down on people sharing passwords. Many families have done this for quite some time, and if you've shared a password, they don't want you doing that anymore, and a lot of people have been upset. It's been getting a lot of negative press, and different families within the household are sharing this, and now in order to sort of combat some of that negative press, Netflix has reduced their prices in 30 different countries, with some getting up to a 50% discount. So I'm not sure that will help everything, but in different countries it may help quite a bit, as they'd be paying the same price as before. My guess is, though, they'll just try and find ways around it. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. I don't share my Netflix password with anyone, but I know a lot of different families that have in the past, so it seems to be a thing. It used to be part of their business model, it seemed, so it's not any longer, but again, let me know what you think about it. Now, in the background of this video and other videos, I'm sure you've seen this case. Many have asked about it, and this is the Case-Q Magic Stand case. Case-Q has sponsored this video, and this case comes in a few different colors. It comes in a clear, blue, deep purple, space black, and there's new clear purple and clear black cases just like this one here as well. It's a protective case that adds grip and looks great, and it has a raised bezel around the camera and also the display. It also has a hidden stand built in. The stand allows for a 40 to 120 degree angle and has a magnet in the ring of the stand that supports MagSafe accessories and charging. I'll leave a link to them in the description, and be sure to use code Zelbo for a little bit of a discount. Now, if you're using Final Cut Pro to edit videos like I am, but you didn't buy it directly from Apple, there's a group warning that it could be infected with crypto mining malware, according to Jamp Threat Labs, who detected it. So if you didn't get it from Apple's App Store on your Mac, just beware and make sure you scan for malware, as it could be infected. It's about a $300 program, but you don't have to pay for it monthly or anything like you do with Adobe Premiere. So that's something that, again, if you didn't get it from the Mac App Store, you may want to be careful about. Last week, an iPhone 1 or original iPhone went for an outrageous amount of $63,000 at an auction. Now there's an Apple One computer up for auction. RR Auctions is actually featuring an Apple One computer that's signed by Steve Wozniak and is expected to fetch as much as $500,000. They typically go around the $400,000 range, and so if you want to check this out, I'll leave a link in the description. Now, as far as deals this week, well, there's some deals on Apple Watches, not this Apple Watch Ultra, but the Apple Watch Series 8 for as low as $329, being sold directly by Apple on Amazon. Also, there's an update on the price of AirPods Pro 2 there. It's no longer $199, it's $229, but it's still a discount from what Apple sells it for. And there's also a discount on the 1 terabyte version of the iPad Pro 12.9, $15.99 down from $18.99. So if you're looking for one, they're discounted. I'll link them in the description below. It is an affiliate link, so I will get a little bit of money for that. But if you don't want to use that, just go to Amazon and search for it. Now, this past week, Apple stopped signing iOS 16.3, so you can no longer downgrade to it. That leaves iOS 16.3.1, and also they got rid of an iOS 15 version that people were using to downgrade to iOS 15. It was a release candidate that's no longer signed as well, so Apple sort of cracked down on that. Now, as far as a new update, iOS 16.3.2 so far hasn't been spotted, so it doesn't look like that could be coming very soon, but we do expect iOS 16.4 Beta 2 fairly soon. So if you're a developer, make sure that you have an Apple ID that's associated with the developer beta. You may be seeing this bug. My Apple ID is associated with it, so you may be seeing that. Just keep that in mind. But if you're actually having an issue with it, make sure to actually sign up for the developer beta or the public beta if you want to continue testing it. iOS 16.5 is also in testing, it seems, as it's been spotted on different website analytics. So that's something that Apple's working on. So it doesn't look like 16.3.2, but we could see 16.4 as soon as tomorrow or Thursday if they follow what they did a couple weeks ago. Now, as far as iPhone 15, there is a lot of information about it this week. This week, we saw what was claimed to be an actual picture of the iPhone 15 Pro Max or Ultra model. A leaker on Twitter by the name of Unknowns21 showed images of the USB-C port of the upcoming iPhone of what looks to be a titanium housing. They also shared a picture of the front of the standard iPhone 15 model, which they provided the MacRumors. So basically a replacement for the regular iPhone 14 with smaller bezels than the 14, but larger bezels than the Pro models. This past week, we also heard about the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max models having larger camera bumps or thicker camera bumps. However, recent information from Ice Universe on Twitter shows new CAD renders that show a slightly thicker iPhone overall, but a reduced camera bump. So it seems the camera bump may not be getting any bigger or larger, and instead the phone could get a little bit thicker. This could be good for a couple things. Not only would it hide some of the large camera bump, but it would also allow for a larger battery. So that's something I know a lot of people would like. To go along with the battery, the new display in the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max models are said to be more efficient. That would help not only with the chipset being more efficient, but also the display helping that with maybe a larger battery. This could possibly be the best battery life in an iPhone ever with the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max. Now, the bezels are said to be reduced, and you can see that in a rendering from Ian Zelbo and 9to5Mac. They also showed what to expect with the iPhone 15 Plus, which will have a dynamic island again and slimmed bezels. So they're moving over the dynamic island from the Pro models this year to all models on the 15. Also, the LiDAR sensor on the iPhone 15 Pro models is expected to get an upgrade, or it could be the Face ID sensor. There seems to be mixed reports there, but either way, Apple's changing suppliers for that, so it could be a better Face ID, or just maybe they're shrinking it or changing suppliers. Now, according to a source leaked to 9to5Mac, it said that the upcoming iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max models will get a new deep red color. So instead of being a color like we have on the iPhone SE that's sort of a brighter red, product red color, it would be a darker red, as you can see here. So that could look really nice. We also expect different colors for the regular iPhone 15s in maybe a deeper pink and a lighter blue. So we have a light blue already with the iPhone 14, but it's just a different shade. Apple changes it every year. That's not really unexpected, but a dark red iPhone could be welcome. We haven't seen that in quite some time on the Pro models. Additionally, the internal changes are said to include more RAM for the Pro models. This would be increased to about 8 gigs of RAM, up from 6 that we currently have on the iPhone. So you'll see here we have just under 6 gigs of RAM. 8 gigs would be welcome and could help with just keeping different apps open and maybe having something to do with the camera, or maybe it's augmented reality options. Now, the Apple Watch has reached a new proof of concept stage with a blood glucose monitor. Apple's been working on this for quite some time, and they've apparently reached sort of a proof of concept milestone, according to Mark Gurman. This is something that would be revolutionary for a lot of users, where the sensors on the bottom would be a non-invasive glucose monitor. This would be life-changing for a lot of people and would be huge and could change the lives of many. So Apple's actually owned different patents that relate to this and have for many, many years, but they've just never brought it to actual real life usage. Hopefully they get this right, and maybe we'll see it with the next Apple Watch or a couple years from now. But either way, it will need to undergo a lot of testing to make sure it's accurate and can really help people. But I can't wait to see if they actually do that for those that actually need it, whether they're diabetics or just need to measure their overall blood glucose. Apple recently was granted a patent as well for the Apple Watch having to do with the band itself, that there could be a color change fabric band. So it would be something that would change color and also be controllable with an app. So you could change it in the app, have it change color. I'm not sure how that would work, but it looks like it's something they're at least working on or trying out. The price of the iPad next year could increase by a little bit due to a new display technology. Currently, we have one of the best displays on the market with the iPad Pro 12.9 and its mini LED display. However, one of the disadvantages is that because it's mini LED, it's a little bit thicker than what we could get with maybe an OLED display, and it also has blooming in the background on very dark environments. It looks like, according to Business Korea, Apple has ordered a bunch of OLED displays from LG and Samsung for 2024 iPad models. The bad news is the new iPads are said to be more expensive due to a newer construction, which makes OLED brighter and last longer. That's one of the disadvantages of OLED, is they don't typically get as bright as mini LED, but they also have a color change that happens over time. But this is something they've been working on, but would lead to a more expensive iPad. Let me know what you think about that in the comments below. Apple's upcoming AR/VR headset, known as Reality Pro, at least according to Mark Gurman, will likely be able to be used without having to pair it to your iPhone like you do with an Apple Watch. However, you will have the option to transfer iCloud data from an iPhone or just log in. But there's no physical keyboard, but it looks like there's going to be a virtual keyboard that's in the air. You can air type with it and also use your eyes to look at different areas and then use gestures to select what you're looking at. This is all according to Mark Gurman, who says we still should expect this in June at WWDC at the Worldwide Developer Conference. So that's something we could see with hand gestures, using your eyes to look at things, but still it's planned to be around $3,000. Also, the second-gen headset is in the works, but will be a couple years later in 2025, where Apple introduces not only the regular headset, but a less expensive version, according to Ming-Chi Kuo. But again, we haven't seen any of these yet, but there's tons of information in the code about it, so we can expect this probably pretty soon. As far as the next Apple event, well, many of us expect an event probably in March or April. That would coincide with iOS 16.5 and also an event to show off new Macs. The new MacBook Air 15-inch is said to launch with that event, or maybe they'll launch it separately in a press conference. We don't really know, or maybe just a video press conference. We don't really know for sure, but it's said to be very similar to what we currently have with an M2 processor, which would give it longer battery life since it has a larger frame overall and just have a larger display. So we would expect that, also with updated Bluetooth and Wi-Fi as well, Wi-Fi 6E. So that's what we expect with that event. Maybe a few surprises, but I don't know that they need an event just for a MacBook Air. So maybe there's something else being planned. Maybe we'll see that augmented reality headset, or maybe we won't have an event in the spring. Typically we do, though, every single year. Additionally, as far as Macs go, we're still waiting for that Mac Pro. And in recent updates of iOS 16.4 betas, we actually saw code that may relate to a Mac Pro compute module. So that could be for the Mac Pro. It could be for a Reality Pro headset. We don't really know, but the Mac Pro is going to have to offer something the Mac Studio doesn't. So maybe changeable PCI cards. We don't really know, and we don't know what Apple could do with that. So maybe they'll finally show that off. It seems they're a little late with the Mac Pro. So that's everything with this past week's news. I also have a separate video about different apps that were updated, such as WhatsApp, Apple's Store app, and more. So be sure to check out that video if you're interested in that. And of course, I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already, though, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.